Hello! I played inFAMOUS on the PlayStation 3 and gave it a score of 7 out of 10. Here's why. The year is 2009, the end of a decade. The PlayStation 2 has completed its dominant run as the best-selling console of all time and has gracefully stepped aside for its big brother, the PlayStation 3, to take the torch, which it fails to do in dramatic fashion. Everyone knows the PS3 had a very rocky launch, so this opened the door for the Xbox 360 to take a foothold and lead the generation. And why exactly did the PS3 not do so well? It's simple. When your competition's product is cheaper than yours, releases a year earlier than yours, and plays more Halo 3 than yours, you're gonna have a bad time. We now know that PlayStation was able to get its act together, regain its footing, claim the dub in the 7th generation, which Xbox has still not recovered from, and a big part of that was the exclusives on the PS3. So when the PS3 came out, what were some of PlayStation's most reliable major studios working on? Well, at the time you had the big three. Was Naughty Dog working on Jak 4? Nope. Was Sucker Punch working on Sly Cooper 4? No. Was Insomniac working on Ratchet and Clank 4? Yes. With the new tech came new ideas, and these studios were ready to step out of their comfort zone and try something completely new for the PlayStation 3. And this is where Sucker Punch gets involved. The brand new open-world, superhero-inspired, gritty title inFAMOUS was a commercial and critical success, selling over 2 million copies over the following year. Remembered fondly as one of the best new franchises introduced on the PS3, does it still hold up 17 years later? Well, I'm here to tell you folks the answer is a resounding yes. Off the rip, we've got one of the coolest intro sequences I've ever experienced. Personally, I can't think of another game with a start menu that transitions directly into the opening cutscene. Once the intro is over and we gain control of our protagonist Cole McGrath, it's time to explore this brave new world. The two main gimmicks this game is most well known for are the karma and parkour systems, both of which really help set this game apart from other run-of-the-mill action-adventure games. Now, I did play inFAMOUS as a kid and remembered wanting to play as a hero, so for this video and all other videos I make on the inFAMOUS series, I'm going to be taking the evil route, baby. The first choice the player is faced with happens just a few minutes into the game, and it does a great job of illustrating how exactly this story is going to unfold. With Empire City on a complete quarantine due to a deadly plague released by an explosion, civilians have surrounded a supply drop that got stuck on a nearby statue. You're faced with two choices after releasing the supplies to the ground. Spread the wealth and let everyone have a piece, or zap a few randoms and keep everything for yourself. Your decision will set you down a path of good or evil, and this path will influence how characters interact with you, what the people of Empire City think of you, and even what powers will be available to you. Now, before getting too deep into my thoughts on the story and the karma system, of which I have much to think about, I do want to focus on the gameplay, right? We all play video games to have fun for one reason or another, but what is fun is subjective between you and I. So let's just review what this game has to offer and see if it hits the mark. Empire City is inspired by New York City, with skyscrapers lining the pavement and random passersby voicing their displeasure with the world.
No light at the end of this tunnel.
The map sets clear boundaries between the various districts with bridges that connect one to the other. For example, you can't accidentally waltz from the Neon District into the Historic District. You have to intentionally traverse a bridge to get from one to the other. I found this to be a smart design choice because it helps define the look and feel of each district, especially the enemy gangs that have control over each area. As you navigate from mission to mission, district to district, you're going to be doing a whole lot of platforming. And folks, I'm happy to inform you that the parkour system in this game still feels pretty dang good all these years later. With how many different platformers and adventure titles I've played, I've come to realize how difficult it is to get a climbing system to feel good. There has to be an intrinsic one-to-one connection between the player's intentions and the game's execution, which is very difficult to pull off. How many times have you been playing a game where your character jumps when you didn't want them to jump, or rolls when you didn't want them to roll? Even if it's a skill issue, it's still something developers have to consider because too much frustration will force a player to put the game down and move to something else. For 2009 standards, what inFAMOUS achieved in its mobility and platforming is really impressive. It feels really natural to have an understanding of whether or not you can grab the windowsill above you based on the height of your jump, or if you'll have enough of a glide to close the gap between one building to the other. The default camera angle helps give you enough visual clearance to know where you are and where you need to go while climbing. As you unlock powers, you can really get into a flow state by chaining moves together. The further you get into the game, the further you can literally go in a single jump. Comboing a grind from a power line into a glide with the thrusters to get great positioning for a thunder drop on unsuspecting enemies below is like crack cocaine, dude. It feels so good. I'm not saying that no criticism is warranted. In fact, looking back at reviews of inFAMOUS when it first released, there were a few recurring complaints about the parkour system, primarily its tendency to be a bit clingy. And I can absolutely verify this complaint. There were plenty of times where Cole was acting like the floor is lava and would just simply refuse to put his feet on the ground. There's a dedicated drop button when you're platforming, yes, but the animation doesn't always give you enough clearance for whatever facade you're climbing to hit the ground. More often than not, you're going to grab the windowsill of floor down, and even more annoying is when you're trying to jump from a roof to the road but wind up hanging from a power line. There's issues with the inverse too, where you do want to grab something, but for one reason or another, the game does not register the action, so you have to restart your climb or fall to your death. Unfortunately, there's an entire district dedicated to feeling worse to explore than all the others, and that's the Warren. Since it's supposed to be the more low-income, Skid Row-esque district of Empire City, a lot of the buildings are designed to appear more dilapidated and run down. That's great for giving your game personality, but it's not great when core design principles end up counterintuitive to your game's biggest selling point. There's buildings with exposed rebar and corrugated metal that you'd expect to be grabbable more often than it actually is. And there's more open-air, multi-story buildings, which proves to be kind of tough to climb into the floor of your choosing. But all things considered, the good greatly outweighs the bad. For every one instance of Cole doing something I didn't want him to do, there were 10 other instances where everything was fluid and Cole put Nathan Drake to shame. Another mechanic that Sucker Punch prided itself on with inFAMOUS was the map takeover system, where the player slowly pushes out the enemy of each district until the entire island is a safe zone. This is done by completing side missions, each one cleansing a small portion of the map. The variety in the types of side missions you have to complete is surprising. There's definitely a spectrum of annoying, grindy missions to platforming masterpieces, but no matter what, I found it impressive how many different objectives inFAMOUS throws at you. You could be racing around power lines, hitting checkpoints, stalking enemies from afar, taking out enemy hideouts, clearing train tracks and powering the rails, or following ghosts to their stash. For how many side missions are available in each district, these could have easily become monotonous, but for me, they were addicting from start to finish. I had to keep reminding myself that I need to play through the entire inFAMOUS series, and I don't have time to complete every side mission right now. But I just couldn't shake that itch, man. Not to say the side mission system isn't without its flaws. My least favorite recurring objective was having to clear buildings of surveillance devices, which required scaling each side of a building to slowly comb through and look for small boxes to destroy. These were the longest of all the side missions to complete, and they were made even more annoying if you were under attack at the same time. There were also the track the courier missions, which weren't terrible, but I swear these dudes have eyes in the back of their head sometimes. Some of these side missions are labeled good and evil, and depending on which ones you complete will directly impact your karma level. I came to enjoy these missions because instead of the standard side quests, which had totally unrelated objectives from one another, these missions grew to have somewhat of a running theme. Now, I'm not saying you're gonna get like One Piece flashback levels of storytelling, but more that the gameplay mechanics of each of these missions start to connect. The best example is when you start completing evil side missions for Sasha, who, for context, is the sexy vixen that every AAA game of this era was legally mandated to include. What starts as her giving you some buddies under her control to assist you on missions, ends with you taking part in a massive all-out war between two enemy factions. So not only do you gain karma, which unlocks new powers, but you also get unique mission structures that aren't really available with the standard side quest. Let's talk more about those powers, shall we? Outside of required main missions, there's two mechanisms to unlocking these abilities that have to be used in tandem: your karma level and your overall experience points. Most of your powers have 3 tiers of mastery. The second and third tiers of each power are only available once you hit the second and third tiers of your karma level, but you still have to have the experience points available to purchase and unlock these new tiers. XP is gained through completing missions, defeating enemies, terrorizing citizens, and finding collectibles. So this creates a really fun gameplay loop. So while you're going throughout the game and you're excited to get to your next level of heroism or villainy, you're still keeping a shopping list in the back of your mind of what powers you want to upgrade and how much XP you need to do it. So you can't just spend your powers willy-nilly every time something new becomes available. You have to be strategic. You have to budget, folks. Fortunately, the XP really isn't that hard to come by, at least in my experience. You get it through combat, so you'll naturally gain a lot just through doing your missions, and especially if you do all the side missions, you should be able to unlock everything you want without any real issues. Giving the player agency over what powers to enhance and in what order helps customize the game to their playstyle. You'll probably end up with an ability or two that you don't really use, but everything in the game is completely achievable with whichever build you prefer. The collectibles in this freaking game, man, they are instant dopamine hits. It is nearly impossible to see one on the minimap and not stop to collect it. Your two items of interest are blast shards, which are strewn all about the city, and dead drops, which are inFAMOUS' version of audio diaries. The dead drops tell the story of John White, an NSA agent working undercover as a mole inside the First Sons, which is the evil empire Cole is up against. These brief audio logs help give backstory to characters you encounter and paint a clear picture of how exactly Cole wound up in this mess to begin with. As for the blast shards, these addictive little delicacies help increase Cole's electric capacity. This means the more shards you collect, the longer Cole can fight without having to pause to recharge. The blast shards aren't necessarily hard to find since they ping the most beautiful shade of blue on your map with a click of R3, but they can be difficult to access. I guess my only complaint with the collectible structure is there's probably more blast shards on the map than necessary, but you can max out your power without needing to collect all of them, thanks to plenty of side missions awarding them to Cole. You only need to secure them all if you're a trophy hunter like myself. But, you know what the best part of these blast shards are? Let me tell you what. The sound they make when you pick them up? Yeah, it's the same sound as when you pick up a precursor orb in Jak 2.
These precursor orbs are worth a lot now.
Now that's cool. Alright, we've got our core mechanics and gameplay loop established. Let's get into the juicy part, story and combat, which for this series go hand in hand. Cole McGrath is a bit of an anti-hero, a high school dropout turned delivery boy. He unknowingly delivers a device called the Ray Sphere to the perfect location to wipe out entire blocks of the city upon detonation. To Cole's surprise, not only does he survive, but he awakens with superhuman electricity powers. Come to find out, this dude is what's called a conduit, and now has the powers necessary to either serve Empire City as its guardian angel, or rule over the populace with an iron fist. You've got your best good pal Zeke, who is loyal to the soil, and your girlfriend Trish. Well, ex-girlfriend. What happened to true love? One little bomb detonation is enough for Trish to leave Cole? Her heart must have never really been into it. Let her walk, I say. Shortly after you begin restoring power to the city, you're contacted by the mysterious Moya Jones, who offers you a golden ticket out of the quarantine in exchange for help with finding her husband, Mr. Dead Drop himself, John White. As you begin unraveling the mystery of John's whereabouts, you also come face to face with your arch nemesis, Kessler, the leader of the First Sons and the reason for the season. Now, what the heck are the First Sons and what the heck are they doing with all the middle siblings? Well, folks, this was actually one of my favorite parts of the narrative. It goes pretty heavy on the historical fiction side of things, which I usually find pretty interesting. So the First Sons, we may kind of refer to them as the Illuminati. They're this secretive group of people who believe humans can unlock superpowers. They date back to the medieval times, they survived the Salem witch trials, and present day, they've been taken over by Kessler, who has usurped power from the rightful heir. Once he took over, Kessler was able to make friends in low places, slowly build the pieces he needed to make the Ray Sphere, and boom! inFAMOUS on the PS3. The First Sons were technically correct because Cole did unlock superhuman abilities thanks to the unknown conduit gene inside him. Cole's electrical powers manifest in different categories of attacks and mobility options. You've got a really fun mix of weapons at your disposal. There's a shockwave which can stun a rushing crowd or blow an enemy straight off a roof. You've got electricity grenades that can force opponents out of cover or blast away an unknowing militia. You've also got some explosive rockets, a force field, a ground pound, and my personal favorite, the precision strike. This move slows down the game, enhances your zoom, and allows you to snipe your way out of any wartime scenario. I saw another common complaint at release was the combat being too repetitive, and I guess I kinda sorta agree. It never bothered me too much because I always felt like the combat was fun from start to finish, but yeah, I would admit that with only a handful of enemy variants per district, there's not that many different ways Sucker Punch could have arranged these encounters. The dev team did wisely make a point to create unique set-piece moments during main missions. During the prison break sequence in Alden in Chains, Cole stands on an electrical platform, granting him unlimited power while the largest swarm of enemies you'll face in the game come flooding into the prison yard. There's also the arrest, where Cole has to fight through a massive tent city built by the Dustmen in an effort to capture Alden. So I guess all that to say, yes, the combat when exploring the city and completing side missions is repetitive, but when it matters most during those story missions, there's always going to be a little special pizzazz. For a 2009 action title, I think the story here does exactly what it needs to do, no more, no less. Learning more about John White, the First Sons, Cole's abilities, and Zeke's love life were all interesting enough to keep you guessing about where the story was going next. There were some great standout moments, like when Kessler kills 6 doctors and Trish, or when John drops a fentanyl bomb on an enemy hideout.
So what's the plan?
I've got a canister of fentanyl right to the bottom of the chopper.
Yes, you heard that right. These bozos got fent bombed. The performances from the voice cast varies from average to very good, with one of the better performances coming from Caleb Moody as Zeke Dunbar, who always comes across as a well-intentioned hillbilly.
Dwight was killed by a dog? Damn. I had a cousin that went the same way. Whew. I shouldn't have had an open casket, but old Smitty wanted one. People were passing out, puking, you name it. It was horrible. Still haven't recovered from that one.
As for our main character, Cole, who is voiced by Jason Cottle, definitely some peaks and valleys, to put it nicely. Sometimes the gravelly mystique in his voice was layered on a bit too thick for my taste.
You gotta be kidding me.
But I did think his reaction to Trish's death at the end of The Price was a genuinely emotional and impressive performance. I actually thought the best voice actor in the game was Jason Cottle, the voice of Cole McGrath, who I did not like that much. He voices another character, Alden, who is the rightful heir to the First Sons. He's a minor character, I would say, but when he's involved and when he's in those cutscenes, he really steals the show.
You dare mention my father! I'll kill you, all of you! Tear you from limb to limb!
We know about the good versus evil side missions sprinkled throughout the city, but there's also random encounters with civilians where you can heal a sick person or suck them dry, you can atom bomb protesters throwing dirt on your name, or you can choose between preventing or abetting the public hanging of someone accused of stealing. The more karma you earn, the different powers you unlock, yada yada yada.
I'll do it myself!
The most interesting piece of the karma system is the choices you have to make when completing story missions, which directly alter how your interactions with other characters play out. During the mission Blood Trail, you follow a ghost down an alley that reveals a woman's death. Fast forward to the sewers, where Cole is trying to restore power. You encounter that woman's husband, Brandon, who's blocking your path forward. You can either A, break the bad news about his wife so he'll go arrange a GoFundMe, or B, just kill him on the spot. There's choices like this all throughout the game, and even when you're committed to playing a specific karma path like I was, sometimes those choices can still feel tough to make. By the way, I love the animation on display during Cole and Brandon's confrontation. It oozes PS3 era vibes.
Are you out of your damn mind? The Reapers will kill my wife!
Another interesting karma choice is during the tar kegs mission, where Cole must destroy devices poisoning the local water supply. You can either choose to use a close range attack, which will trigger hallucinations, but keep the people on the ground below safe. Or you can destroy them from a distance and let the tar sicken everyone in the splash zone. The karmic choice that really stings is during the mission I mentioned earlier, The Price. After Trish hits the ground, Cole is only able to revive her for a few moments. In that small window, Trish will either commend you for your heroic acts and confess her love, or if you're evil, she'll tell you how much she hates you and how disgusted she is at what you've become. She certainly made the most of those final glimmers of life. The karma system is a fun mechanic to help the player feel like what they're doing is really making an impact on the people around them. And knowing there's a whole series of cutscenes you're not getting because you chose one way or another is a great motivator for another playthrough. But when you really put things under a microscope, what does and doesn't give you karma doesn't always make a whole lot of sense. Getting the train lines going again is an objectively good deed, right? We love public transit. inFAMOUS appears to be part of the big car lobby, as this is actually considered a karmic neutral action, with no good or evil karma being awarded. During a series of side missions where Cole destroys 4 heavily armed buses, killing everyone in sight, no good karma is bestowed upon you. How is that not a good karma deed? Preventing a mass casualty event is most certainly a nice thing to do. The funniest example too is when the story is all said and done after defeating Kessler, you earn good karma. We just heard evil Cole relish the destruction of Empire City, mock Kessler's warning about the future, and brag that no one is stronger than him. I'm not sure this really counts as being on your best behavior, but what do I know?
Because of me, Empire City is a wasteland.
I guess I should elaborate on Kessler's warning, huh? Yeah, so he's Cole. As in, Kessler is Cole McGrath from the future. I'm gonna keep it 100. I don't totally understand the ins and outs of how Kessler Cole returned to confront current Cole, but I do know that Kessler Cole was trying to test current Cole and make sure he was prepared for what's to come next. Something called the Beast. I thought the time travel angle was perhaps just a hair on the cheesy side, but something I've learned as I've gotten older is that not every movie, song, or game you experience needs to be the most thought-provoking, astounding piece of media ever produced. It's okay if it's digital junk food as long as it's fun and you enjoy your time with it. That's why I'm a Limp Bizkit fan. Some of my favorite parts of inFAMOUS are small details or quality of life decisions that make the game that much more of a good time. For starters, anytime you arrive at a custom marker on your map, it automatically disappears. This literally has no bearing at all on the actual experience at hand, but it's always a huge pet peeve whenever a game makes you manually remove a custom waypoint. I found the sound design to be really nice. All of the various electrical noises from Cole's powers have a tactile vibe to them. Alden Strikes is probably my favorite main mission because the setting is entirely unique. Good old Zeke gets himself captured, so Cole has to venture into this massive maze built from shipping containers. You never know which walls are fake and have an enemy ambush hiding behind them. It feels very much like a gladiator situation for Cole, with wave after wave of dustmen trying to stop him from saving his closest amigo. On the subject of Zeke, he has such a funny inclusion in the final battle. When he first shows up during Cole and Kessler's confrontation, I thought some crazy heroic sacrifice was about to go down. Instead, he just gets absolutely blasted by Kessler. A cool trait of Zeke's is periodically he will call Cole after a few side missions and comment on how it seems like the people of Empire City are responding to what he's been doing.
You know there's a Cole fan club now? I swear, people around here must have some free time.
It makes the city feel alive. I love when developers make sure that optional content still feels like it's actually impacting the world and not just happening off to the side in a vacuum. I think I also had a soft spot for Zeke and his brotherhood with Cole. Through thick and thin and through some potentially war crime adjacent choices on Cole's part, Zeke is always there to help. It made me think about my own friends and how much I appreciate being able to lean on them when I need it most. Oh my god, I haven't even mentioned the Voice of Survival updates and the news broadcast. I love what Sucker Punch did with this. Okay, so as you're meandering throughout Empire City, you will periodically be prompted to focus in on a TV that's left on a rooftop or in the display window of a store. Sometimes you'll see a news broadcast, and this is basically retelling the events that are happening in Empire City, but in a propagandized way that looks favorable upon the government.
Large-scale relief relief efforts across Empire City continued as FEMA delivered several tons of food, medicine, and other essential supplies into Archer Square. After a brief firefight, the prisoners were freed and the remaining Reaper gang members were taken into custody. This is but the latest step in the government's aggressive effort to restore order in Empire City.
Alternatively, you'll get updates from the voice of Survival, which I'd probably describe this guy as like 3Dog from Fallout 3, but in more of a Jet Set Radio type aesthetic. You know what I'm saying?
Just burn your house down!
This dude will hijack the signal and tell the real news to the people of Empire City, oftentimes not very favorably to Cole.
I got big news tonight. I finally learned the identity of the terrorist. That's right, I know the name of the man who destroyed our city and sentenced us to life in this hell. This is Cole McGrath, terrorist, light bulb man, grade A certified douchebag. If you see him running around, do whatever it takes to bring him down. It's time for his reign of terror to end.
I don't know, it's stuff like this that really makes a game come to life. This is completely optional development work, having to hire the actors to perform these TV broadcasts, but it brings so much energy and personality to the game. It makes it a lot more immersive and makes it feel like the story and your actions have a real impact on the world around you. I love it. You can't play a PS3 game without some unintentionally funny things happening, and thankfully Infamous had no shortage during my playthrough.
Are you there?
I don't know if this was intentionally supposed to feel like a running gag or what, but anytime you're on the phone with John White, he talks about how he has to keep it brief so the NSA can't track him. Issue is, this dude has zero sense of time.
So how much did Moya know about 52 seconds?
Hell if I know. Is it really that important?
She works for a different agency and knew I was undercover. That means the NSA has been compromised, that someone is outing agents. Our entire national security apparatus could be exposed. 29 seconds.
Sometimes NPCs will run up to you in a panic, begging you to urgently and immediately apprehend a thief. But there is never a clear indication of who you're going after and what you're supposed to be doing.
Hey, mister, over here! This guy is ripping people off. Take him down!
I did also have a complete hard lock of my console at one point, and since this is the original PS3 I mowed lawns all summer to save up for in middle school, there was definitely a moment where my stomach dropped, but we're all good. Infamous is a fun game, plain and simple. A true showcase of why making the jump from the last gen was worth the price of entry. This game was a welcomed new franchise to the PlayStation family. The gameplay holds up incredibly well and the replayability is undeniable. This was a really important title in Sucker Punch's history. It can be so hard to escape the shadow of the successful franchise everyone knows you for. It happens with musicians all the time. Fans are shocked when someone doesn't want to write the same type of songs they did 10 years ago, but those 10-year-old songs are why fans fell in love with them in the first place. Sly Cooper is one of the most iconic PlayStation franchises ever, so being able to move on to not just a new franchise, but one with a different tone and feel entirely, really helped give the studio confidence in trusting their gut and exploring new concepts. I believe Infamous is deserving of a 7 out of 10, which is a good score, all right? I think there's a misconception about review scores. A 7 out of 10 is good. If 5 is average, anything above 5 is above average, which is good. This game offers players a massive toolbox of addicting gameplay, unique abilities, a story that's interesting enough to keep you going, and characters that you're dying to see at the hinted at sequel. You know, we're not really getting as many AAA single-player narrative-driven games in this generation like we did in the 7th generation, so playing through this was a really great nostalgic experience that made me appreciate a bygone era. I'm really happy I revisited this game. I remembered enjoying it as a kid, and I think I liked it even more playing it now. So I certainly recommend everyone give it a try if you haven't already, and I'm looking forward to trying out the sequel, Infamous 2. So that's that. Let me know your thoughts on Infamous, if you liked it, if you remember playing it. Stay tuned for the next video. I'm going to be covering the entire Infamous series, including all the DLCs. So, yeah. Goodbye.